I want to turn back to your opener on page 5, when you talk about, in the absence of any credible explanation for the suspension of aid, I later came to believe that the resumption of security aid would not occur until there was a public statement from Ukraine committing to the investigations, correct?
Correct.
And you acknowledge that this is speculation, right?
It was a presumption.
Okay. We have testimony from several witnesses that the president was concerned about foreign aid generally, and so he had an appetite to put holds on aid because he was trying to be a good steward of U.S. taxpayer dollars. Do you agree with that?
I'm aware that that's been his position on aid in other matters, yes.
And are you aware that he was also interested in better understanding the contributions of our European allies?
That I'm definitely aware of.
And there was some back and forth between the State Department officials trying to better understand that information for the president?
Yes, that's correct.
And how do you know that wasn't the reason for the hold?
I don't.
But yet you speculate that there was, a link to this announcement.
I presumed it, yes.
Okay. I want to just step back a little bit and just verify with you that the president had some genuinely deep-rooted concerns about corruption in Ukraine, correct?
That's what he expressed to us, yes.
Okay, and you believed him, right, given his business dealings in the region?
When we had the conversation, I did.
And when you first started discussing the concerns the president had with corruption, Burisma wasn't the only company that was mentioned, right?
It was a generic, as I think I testified to Chairman Schiff, it was a generic corruption, oligarchs, just bad stuff going on in Ukraine.
But other companies came up, didn't they?
I don't know if they were mentioned specifically. It might have been Naftagaz because we were working on another issue with Naftagaz, so that might have been one of them.
At one point in your deposition, I believe you said, yeah, Naftagaz comes up at every conversation. Is that fair?
Probably.
Okay. Stepping back a page to your email to the State Department on August 11th, you email Secretary Pompeo and you say, Kurt and I negotiated a statement from Zelensky to be delivered for our review in a day or two. And the question I have here is that, that statement never was issued. And in fact, Ambassador Volker has testified that he didn't think it was a good idea, and ultimately the Ukrainians didn't think it was a good idea. And so the statement never reached a finalized state.
That's correct.
But even if it had, it doesn't talk about Biden's or Burisma or anything insidious. Correct?
Well, the statement, as I recall, would have mentioned the 2016 elections/DNC server and Burisma.
Okay.
It would not have mentioned the Bidens.
Most of the other witnesses we talked to, whether it's from the Department of Defense or OMB or, have told us that all along during this 55-day period, they genuinely believed the hold would be lifted. Was that your feeling too at the time?
I didn't know because every time I asked about the hold, I was never given a straight answer as to why it had been put in place to begin with.
Preconditions for the aid to be released?
No.
The president never told you about any preconditions for a White House meeting?
Personally, no.
Senator Johnson quotes the president saying no, and he prefaced it with a different word. No way. I would never do that. Who told you that? Senator Johnson says, I have accurately characterized the president's reaction as adamant, vehement, and angry.